we have some here. We have a lot of local bakeries that are still open and delivering. And if not, I really encourage you to try it, making it at home. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by slicing off about an inch in thickness slice, just like so. Now, if it has holes in it, it's okay. Don't worry. That means you have good bread. So don't be too sad about that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just put it on a little dish that you're going to either put in the toaster oven, or you're going to put it in your oven. We're going to put a little olive oil on this. And then we're going to put a little kosher salt, just so it gets nice and seasoned. Then we're going to put this, in our case, we're going to put it in the salamander, which is like a toaster oven. And at home, you can either do that on your broiler, or you can do it in your oven or in your toaster oven. And what we want to do is get that nice and golden brown and sort of nice and crunchy, so it doesn't, it's not too soggy, because you want to withstand all the ingredients that are going to go on top. All right. Now, speaking of ingredients going on top, let's talk about that. So we have some smoked salmon. This is Atlantic salmon that's done locally. It's really nice. Of course, smoked salmon, a lot of omega-3 fatty acids, which is good for your brain development, good for heart health. So it's considered a superfood. We also have some asparagus. Asparagus is great. It's perfect time of the season now for asparagus in the spring. And what we're going to do with asparagus, we're going to blanch this in boiling water. Now with asparagus, the thing with asparagus is that usually the bottom part is the very fibrous part. You don't really want that. How you know and how you can check for this is actually just simply by grabbing it like this, snapping it. Where it naturally snaps is where the fiber ends. And this part here is all tender. So you can actually go ahead and snap all your asparagus. See, it does it very naturally. Sometimes it's a little more this way, sometimes it's a little less. But you see, more or less, it's about the same.
That's awesome. I never knew that. Thank you. That's a great tip.
Yeah. So now we're going to put this in boiling water. Hopefully you have some. What I like is a rolling boil with very heavily salted water. Now, we're at the restaurant, so I have a commercial boiling boiler going. So pardon me if I have a little advantage. But we're going to drop those in boiling water, and we're going to cook those for about 2 to 3 minutes. And we're going to check on that depending on the thickness of your asparagus. Why I like to do that in heavily rolling boiled water is because it's faster to set all of the chlorophyll that's inside of the asparagus, and then it sets it to a nice bright green. Then we're going to shock it in water, so that way we stays nice and bright, keeps all the nutrients inside, doesn't overcook. Also, if you're not cooking it in a rolling boil, it means that your water is not hot enough, and it's also going to lose temperature as you put the asparagus in there. So I also recommend that you take out your asparagus or whatever green vegetable you're cooking, let it get to room temperature before you start cooking in boiling water. All right, so as that's going, we also have some more toppings here. We have avocado. It wouldn't be an avocado toast without avocado. So now, a lot of people ask, how do you know if an avocado is ripe, it's ready to go? Sometimes they look dark, sometimes they look a little green. Well, first, this is a Hass avocado. You have different varieties. This is normally the go-to avocado that people like. It's more creamy, it's kind of rich and subtle. But in Florida, we have a lot of great avocados, but right now is not the season for them. How you can tell? With a Hass, it's basically a darker color. You don't want any green. And also, you'll notice that there's a little nub here. If you can kind of take this off easily without any trouble, like mine just imploded, but if it can come off easily, that means you're good to go. If you have to like force it off, then it's no good. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna carefully with a sharp knife, we're gonna slice it down the middle, find the seed and go around. We're gonna twist, okay? And now, I know this may sound dangerous, but you can do the de-seeding part. What I like to do is I hold my knife by the base and I hold the avocado like so, not too far away, and then give it a twist. Once I hit the seed, I twist it and it comes out. And then what I do is I just pop it off with my thumb. All right. Now we're gonna set these aside. Now we're gonna take our spoon and scoop out the avocado flesh. Just place it onto our board. For this recipe, I'm just gonna show you one, so I just need half. I'm gonna check on my asparagus now. I have my ice water ready to go. Yeah, now these guys feel like they're ready. I'm gonna plunge them in ice water. Obviously, do that with a utensil. Maybe your hands are a bit more sensitive than mine. And we're gonna shock that in ice water just to stop the cooking. You can see that they're still nice and bright green. And we don't wanna, I don't wanna leave them in the ice water too long. You don't wanna, start absorbing water from the ice. You just wanna stop the cooking.
So the reason is to stop the cooking. Otherwise, it'll continue to cook, and then you have the wilted asparagus that looks awful.
Exactly. And you don't want soft, wobbly asparagus. You want still a nice, vibrant crunch to them. All right? So now I'm going to check on my toast. All right, so this is perfect. So it's got nice color. I personally like, a little bit of the dark. I mean, some people don't. I even like it a bit further than that, but I think that's a good place to start. Now I have a clove of garlic. I'm gonna cut this in half. And almost like a bruschetta, you rub a little bit of the raw garlic all over the toast. This gives it a nice savory element, because we have a lot of nice light flavors going on here. We have avocado, you have lemon, you have asparagus. So we want to bring a little bit more savoriness to the party. Okay. Now we'll start with our avocado. I like to slice this nice and thin. And then I push it down so it kind of shingles. Then you get a really nice pattern here. And then that makes it easier to lay on your toast. Okay?
That is so much better than mashing it up and trying to get it on there. That's a great tip.
Yeah, and it's actually really more elegant looking. What I also like to do now is press it down in the middle so that it kind of spreads a little bit more. And you keep the shingle effect, but you create a little well in the middle so it can hold your ingredients better. Okay? So you see
kind of like
exactly.
mashed potatoes at Thanksgiving.
Exactly. So it's nice and ready to go now. It's essentially ready for toppings. Another topping I didn't talk about is our poached egg. Now, poaching an egg normally requires water. If it's a farm fresh egg like this one, you don't really need vinegar. Although if you're not feeling too confident, a couple dashes of white vinegar in your water and salt. The vinegar just helps to tighten up the albumin in the egg as it cooks, so it doesn't go everywhere. But if you have a fresh egg, you shouldn't need that. Now, it's important that when you're poaching, that your pot is deep and your water is not boiling. It's barely at a simmer, okay? Now, these eggs in particular, if you want to sort of up your game, I cook this egg for 1 hour at 62 degrees Celsius. So how would you do that? There's many different ways. You start with your pot. You can do a like candy thermometer or a probe thermometer in your water and constantly watch it. It's a little bit hard. Or you can buy what's called a thermal circulator, which is like a water bath. They sell them actually in Target, Walmart, and a lot of places nowadays. It's quite more widely available. It's essentially an appliance that circulates the water and you set the exact temperature. Now, what 62 degrees does for an egg is that it cooks it to just the point where it sets the yolk and it gives it a really nice, unctuous, creamy quality to it. Now, we've cooked these eggs already for an hour at 62 degrees Celsius. And what I need to do for the recipe is just bring it back. So I'm going to put this in hot water just to get it to temperature. So I'm not really going to cook it further. All right, now what we want to do is put our smoked salmon on top of our avocado. And then we're just kind of arranging it in a way that allows for the middle to hold our egg. So we're sort of making like a little nest, if you will. Okay? Now our egg is almost there. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut our asparagus. Now I like to kind of cut it on a diagonal, what's called a bias. And it's kind of like an exaggerated angle. It just makes for a nicer presentation, looks pretty, and it's also easier to arrange your asparagus. So it's kind of like this shape, you can see, okay? And then that makes it easier now, so when you try to arrange this, you're just kind of sliding it into the little crevices, into the little folds. You see a little fold of salmon, you stuff a piece of asparagus there, and you just kind of arrange it nicely. Just think of it as sort of like a nest. You're making your bird's nest. All right.
Beautiful.
Great. So we have that down. I'm gonna show you the egg now. So we're gonna crack this egg open as you would a raw egg. But this one is cooked, so it slides out beautifully like that. Now, I don't know if you can see that, but it is like perfectly jiggly and unctuous.
Gorgeous.
Egg. Okay, we have some flake salt that we're going to put over our asparagus as well. And
So let me ask you a question about the salt. People get funky about salt. What kind of salt are you using? Is it like kosher salt, Himalayan salt, da 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 da? What is it? Because some you cook with, some you use at the end, some is more flavorful raw. What kind of salt do you recommend for something like this?
All right, that's a great question. So at the beginning, I seasoned my bread with kosher salt, which here at the restaurant, we use to season things. So if we need to add a little salt to a dish, if we season meat, if we season anything in general, we use kosher salt. Now, something like this, and that's what we use to season the bread with when we toasted it. Now, when we finish something, when it's going on top of an egg, when it's going on top of a finished dish, we're using sea salt. This one in particular is Malden sea salt. That's coming from the UK. And what makes that really special, and that's why we like it, is a pyramid crystal shape. Now, I don't know, you probably can't get close enough to see it, but the crystals on this, on the salt is shaped like a pyramid. And they're hollowed out, and they even have ridges where they go up to the top. So that's what makes them very special. They got a really pure flavor to them, and as you eat, you get little bits of crunchiness, and it explodes, and it just contrasts the flavor a lot better. So that's a great question. We use a lot of different types of salts to season with. And it's that finishing salt that really kind of makes that unique difference. What also makes the unique difference in this case about this dish is the peppers, the chili that we're going to use, the chili flake. So this is a Piment d'Espelette. Espelette is a region in France where this chili pepper is from. It's one of these designated protected origin places that Espelette chili can only come from Espelette. So if you see it in the store, it has to come from there. It's like Champagne. It has to be from Champagne. So these peppers are usually harvested in summertime. They're put on strings and dried out. And then they actually have a festival. I believe it's the end of October or something like this, where even tourists come and they harvest the chili peppers from all the hanging strings. So it's really interesting about these peppers. But,
Sounds like I have to book a flight. Sounds like I have to book a flight to go to the festival of the chili pepper.
Go to France, right? So anyway, it's a mild chili. It's not very abrasive. It's got a really nice flavor to it. It's almost like sweet, and it's got a really nice mildness to it. So it really works well here. Doesn't overtake. And what I do is I season our egg yolk pretty liberally with that. And what that does now is I've seasoned it, and as I break into this egg yolk, it kind of coats everything and it makes a sauce. When you think about sauces and you think about mayonnaise or emulsions, you think about, what's a good base of a sauce, or sometimes it's mayonnaise or a dressing, and a lot of the times egg yolk is there. So here we have a cooked egg yolk, and as it mixes with everything, it creates its own sauce. Now we're going to finish this with lemon and olive oil, and all of that gets nice and mixed together. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put a little bit of rocket leaves, or arugula leaves, sorry. We're going to cut the stems off. Okay, we've got our little mixing bowl here.
So you cut the stem. That's interesting to know. You cut the stems off the arugula. Is it because the stems are bitter?
No, the stems are more like fibrous. So, it's like gets stuck in your teeth, and it's not very tender.
Okay.
You can always just pick the leaves off of it. That's also fine. And so what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to do a little bit of fresh lemon juice. So I cut a little bit of lemon, squeeze some fresh lemon, some salt, some kosher salt. Okay. I have here a little bit of olive oil with lemon. Okay. And then I just toss that gently. Then I'm going to use that as sort of like a little garnish on top. It kind of hides everything, so it makes it a little bit more mysterious. And as you dig into it, you kind of discover the layers as you go, which is very nice. Okay, last thing I'm going to do here is I'll put my plate now so you can see. And what I'll do is I'll get some lemon zest. I love cooking with lemon zest. It just brings out another element to that lemon.
So I was told you don't really cook with lemon zest. You usually use it as a topper or a garnish. Is that right? Or is there a time where you would actually cook with lemon zest? Or is it like exclusively just the top?
Generally, that's true. I would say that maybe what you could also do with lemon zest or citrus zest is cure things. So you mix the zest with salt and sugar, and then you can coat it over, salmon to make cured salmon or fish. You can even do that over, say, some lamb that you want to braise off, or some chicken that you want to marinate. You can make really interesting marinades with all types of zest. And then that, as you cook that, it's perfectly fine. It's already given its flavor.
Mm-hmm.
But the use of zest is really all about taking out all of the essential oils that are locked in that skin. And the reason why you use a microplane is you don't want to get too far down. As soon as you start seeing the white, you stop. So you can go around. What I like to do is I hold it upside down, and then I'll zest around, because then I can control and see how deep I'm getting. Because a lot of the times you see people do it like this, but then you don't see really how far deep you're going. You go around like that, and you can see how far you're getting into, and then you can control how much zest you put onto your product.
Good tip.
Yeah.
I
Also,
love the
if you don't have a microplane, you need to go and get one. This is my favorite thing to gift people. It's under $20. It's a great stocking stuffer. It's a great, hey, if you got an aspiring chef in your family or any of your friends that like to cook, they're gonna love a microplane. It doesn't matter how many of them you have in your house. Trust me.
I don't have one. I think I gotta run out and get one.
Oh, you have to. You have to. All right, the last thing we're gonna do to finish this up is we're gonna cut a little fresh chives. I love chives just to finish just about everything. And what we do is we shave our chives nice and fine.
Your knives are a lot sharper than mine.
I mean, for me, it's an extension of me as a chef, as me as a cook. You have to keep your knife sharp, you know? It's part of the game.
It's a tool.
Yeah, it's a tool, and it's an extension of my hand. You know, if you cut chives with a dull knife, you're gonna smash them, and you're gonna make them watery, and it's no good. So the sharper your knife, the better. It's also dangerous to cook and to cut with a dull knife because, you know, it can actually, your chances of cutting yourself are higher than if you have a sharp knife. So something to think about. But yeah, and that's the finished dish, and it's really, really simple. I hope it wasn't something too simple, but I think
No.
recipes are. And the best thing about it is when you cut into it, you know, you have the unctuous, beautiful, creamy egg that just runs and makes the sauce.
That's
You
beautiful.
really
Can you
delicious
hold it up? Can you hold it up a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Yeah.
So this is maybe a brunch item and it's a lunch item, probably not dinner.
Brunch, this is perfect for brunch. This is great for lunch. A light dinner, you know, you have your salmon, you have asparagus, you have avocado, it's very healthy. You have your fresh arugula, lemon juice, and olive oil. I would say there's nothing bad about this. And the small, you have an open face sandwich, so you're missing the other carb, so you can allow yourself a little bit of bread, right?
Right. Just a little bit. Is this on your regular menu, Chef?
Absolutely. So I'm glad you brought that up. It's actually on our Mother's Day special. It's available now. Yeah, so you can gift your mom a really nice brunch item. And I think
Well, here's the other thing. Here's the other thing. If you've all tried to make this at home and it didn't come out exactly the same as what you saw, you can always just order it from the alley and they can deliver it to you to your door because it looks amazing. But I promise you, if I tried that, it wouldn't look so great. It would take me a couple of times to get that asparagus down exactly right. But it's a beautiful recipe. Everything, it's so layered and complicated, but at the same time, very light and not that complicated because there are easy steps to get to it. So, I mean, this is just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I'm going to order it because I don't think that it's going to come out that way when I make it.
Great. That sounds
This
great.
is what. So let me ask you a question, though. We're all going through this, and I really appreciate this because it's beautiful, and we can actually take questions from anybody who's listening. If anybody else wants to ask a question, Danny, I don't know if anybody's been posting questions.
Well, no one's posted a question, but Lindsay texted me that she had a question. She wanted.
Let Lindsay speak. Yeah.
So
I wanted to ask. You mentioned about the egg. You said 60 minutes at a certain temperature. Was that like the sous vide or something to that effect? I'm sure I'm saying that wrong.
Correct. Yes. So if you have a sous vide machine or the circulator that controls the temperature of your water, 62 degrees Celsius, not Fahrenheit, but Celsius for an hour. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. No, I was Googling to try to figure out what you had said, and now I think I'm going to buy one.
Yeah, they're actually, you know, a long time ago, if I remember correctly, about, I'd say 5 to 8 years ago, they're like $1,000. Chefs, you know, we're trying to track it down. You'd have to get it from like a laboratory supply place. And then slowly companies began making them for professionals only. And then now, just recently in the last few years, you have people that are making them and selling them now. It's available in Walmart, Target, all of these major retailers, and sometimes as low as $80. So
Wow.
I really recommend, looking into that. And you don't need like a vacuum machine to go along with it. You can put it, eggs, you just drop them in the water. You put it in a plastic wrap. You can cook it in there or in a plastic a pouch bag. So sometimes people think, oh, you need the expensive equipment that goes along with it, but that's actually not true.
So here's a follow-up question. You don't have the
Thanks, Jeff.
machine, how would you make the egg? The follow-up question is, you don't have the machine, how would you make the egg? It's just a poached egg, right?
Poached egg.
Absolutely. So if you don't have that, you can poach it in water at barely simmering. Vinegar if you feel like you need it, if your egg is not super fresh. I'll be the first to admit it. I put a little drop of vinegar in my water too when I'm at home, because sometimes, I can't be bothered with the egg. Maybe it wasn't as fresh as I thought it was. So, but
Good.
it's up to you. So water,
Good.
vinegar, a little salt in the water, and then you poach it.
Wonderful. Good tip. Good tip. I didn't know about the vinegar either. I'm learning a lot about cooking. I was the girl that didn't know my way to my own kitchen, and now I'm just making these elaborate dishes because my parents are here throughout the whole COVID. They normally would be gone by now, and they're used to going to restaurants every single day. So I've challenged myself to make them feel comfortable and cook, and I'm finding I love it. So I'm really engaged in opening up my culinary appetite and trying to grab some talents and good tips from good chefs. That's the best way to do it. Let me ask you a question. I know somebody else asked, what is the actual name of your dish on your menu?
The actual name of this dish on the menu?
Yeah.
It's a smoked salmon and avocado tartine.
Wonderful.
What brand
And
of salmon?
what would you pair it with for brunch?
Well, this goes, we have a specialty pizza that we're doing it's a squash blossom pizza, which is really beautiful and colorful. We call it Flowers for Mama because it's like giving your mother some flowers in the shape of a pizza, So we have that on the menu. We have a really beautiful strawberry pie that our talented pastry chef Gabriella, made a delicious strawberry pie, which is layered with a lime curd and a custard, and it's just delicious. Some sliced strawberries on top and a little cream. It's just, for me, that's the package right there.
Outstanding. Danny, did I miss any questions?
There was a question about what brand of salmon would you use to avoid nitrites?
Oh, the other question, besides the brand of salmon, what salmon would you get? And the other question is, for a vegetarian, what would you substitute the salmon for? Two questions.
Well, that's a great question. So first, we're using Atlantic salmon that's smoked locally. The brand is St. James. They're out of Miami, Florida. It's a good product, and I would say that there's no need to try to get the super expensive stuff from Europe, because we have a lot of great salmon, coming out of Alaska, coming out of the Atlantic, and it's all done here domestically, so there's no need for that. But if you have it, hey, I'm not going to judge you. You can also just substitute the salmon. Honestly, on its own, you have asparagus, you have avocado, you have the arugula. If you want to do the egg or not, the egg to me makes it special. If you can eat egg, then I would just say you can even leave out the salmon completely.
Oh, just leave it out.
Yeah, I think you have enough going on to where it's still an interesting enough dish.
So here is my question. What do you serve it with? Meaning, is it wine, champagne? I'm doing a Sauvignon Blanc right now. We're talking like, what do we drink it with?
They say the best wine to pair anything with is the wine that you got in your fridge that you love to drink. This really go. It would go well with a Sauvignon Blanc. It would go well with any pretty much crisp, dry white wine. I would love this with bubbles, with champagne, prosecco. because it's a brunchy dish, you know. So you have a really beautiful kind of rosé would be great. So it's up to you what you like to drink, and I think a lot of great wine would go well with this.
This is amazing, and I want to thank you for this. I can't wait to eat it. I do want to ask you a couple of questions because we're in the hospitality industry district, or we're in the hospitality industry, hospitality and tourism industry. Sorry, but what kind of changes do you think you're going to see in the kitchen coming out of COVID? Right? Everybody wants to know what's the top security you're going to have. You guys, one, a kitchen is super sanitary anyway, right? You have health department issues, you have all of this kind of things going on, but just to give our audience and the people that are engaged just a little taste of what kind of changes they might be seeing in the restaurant scene and in the kitchen scene, maybe you can address, because you had your mask on, right?
Yeah.
When you came on board, and I said, nobody's around you and you're going to be eating that, so take the mask off. But what kind of things are you going to be, what are we going to see at a restaurant when we come back?
It's a great question, and it's honestly the question that we've been asking a lot and talking a lot of. You know, we're really anxious to reopen and to get back to normal, but we do know that, you know, stepping up our game in terms of being safe for each other, one, and for our customers and our guests is paramount. So like you said, masks, constant wearing of gloves and washing in between changes of gloves, you know, making sure that we're constantly monitoring all of the team's temperatures when they come in, and just being more mindful of how we do things. Like you said, we're very clean and we're very organized already. It's just about putting everything through sort of a fine teeth comb or a filter to say, how can we improve and make it even safer? So we've upped the times that we wash and sanitize the dining room and the kitchen. You know, it used to be, you know, when we open once during the day and then when we close. So now we find ourselves doing it every few hours and constantly wiping down. We're looking at more single usage stuff, which is a challenge because, you know, we don't want to affect the environment negatively, but we're looking at biodegradable stuff and recyclable items, so where we can get more single use, but still keep a conscious on how we affect the environment around us. But yeah, it's like you said, it's a very challenging thing. Something that we have to think a lot now is how we reorganize the kitchen in terms of social distancing. So as we work, we still have to keep our distance. So now we have to plan our moves a lot more and say, okay, if you're going to be in this kitchen and that kitchen really can't fit more than 2 people, we need to say, all right, we're going to schedule and make sure that you're in there. And then if I need to go in there, we need to coordinate that on a more sort of controlled basis and say, I need to get in there. It's my time. We rotate and we keep our distance. It's very important.
I think that's also important. And I think probably the most important thing is communicating that effectively to the customer base so they feel secure, right? So there's going to be a whole, like, this is the protocols that we use. Your health is in our hands. We care about you. That type of messaging is what's really going to be effective when the relaunch, right? When we're able to relaunch and we're able to bring customers back. Everybody wants to come back to a restaurant because they're all sick of their own cooking and takeout only goes so far. So we're really, really looking forward to it. Miami Beach has the best chefs in the entire world. Chef Andrew, I'm so thrilled that you were able to join us today. This is really special for us. And guess what? If it wasn't for COVID, we wouldn't be doing this. So we have to count our blessings when we find them. I can imagine that the chamber is going to do this very, very much more often. And there was actually a question about when is our next one? Danny?
Hi, everyone. So, we are working on that. I'm talking to Poached.
Okay.
So exclusive information right now. Hopefully Demetrius from Poseidon will be available in 2 weeks. We also have a fish called Avalon. I don't have the dates in
Chef Al.
from a fish called Avalon, probably in 3 weeks. I don't have dates right now, but stay tuned. Please email me if you don't receive our email so that I can put you on the list. And I'm going to put it in the chat box for anybody who isn't a member of the chamber. We can definitely add you to our email list. And I just wanted to point something else that was obvious because I got a question about it, that the only reason Chef wasn't wearing a mask was because he couldn't talk. There's no one in the, he couldn't speak when we were doing.
Always close by, always on. But
He had the mask on. He had the mask on, and I did tell him, look, I have my mask too, but he's in his own kitchen. There's no one around him, and he's going to eat that. Nobody else is going to be eating his food. So I said, you know what? This is isolated enough. Take your mask off. We want to be able to hear you. I have my mask, but I took my mask off because I'm in my own kitchen for the same reason. So that is the only reason. But otherwise, on an ordinary basis, the kitchen staff is going to be wearing masks. That's kind of going to be the SOP. But for this particular demonstration, this is why that he wasn't wearing a mask. And I think it's important to kind of note that because normally they would be wearing their masks. I again want to thank you. I do want to put a plug in for Ocean Drive, the Betsy, LT. I noticed Laurent was watching. Chef Laurent, very excited. We will get him one day too. But I will tell you that the chamber is putting together a cookbook. And all of our chefs that are featured are going to be featured also in the chef cookbook, Celebrity Chef Cookbook. And we're putting it together as a nonprofit fundraiser. And all the monies will be going towards helping and sustaining children in school who are homeless. So all of the money. So this is what we're doing. It's part of our give back. We want to highlight our tourism and hospitality. We love our chefs. We want to make sure that they get some light shined on them, but it's all for a good cause because we're going to be putting this cookbook together and all of the profits are going to go to really support. We have children in school who are homeless. And so the chamber through their education foundation is going to take the extra effort to make sure that we're helping them, feed them, provide them with some kind of clothing and support. And this is part of that effort. I am going to say something about Ocean Drive. The Betsy won the Burger Bash. I got the Burger Bash winner on Ocean Drive, the Betsy. I have one of the best brunches in the country, the Palace. And Chef Cal from the Avalon, #1 best pie in North America by the Pie Council. So we have great food on Ocean Drive. Run to the Betsy, get to the alley, pick up your Mother's Day dinner. You want to go over one more time your specials for Sunday?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to have this wonderful dish that we made, the smoked salmon and avocado tartine. We're also going to have our special pizza, which is our flowers for mama, which is our squash blossom pizza with whipped raviola and lemon. And then we're also going to have special pies baked by Chef Gabriela, which is whole pies that you can either buy by the slice or the whole pie. And that's going to be a special flavor of custard, lime, and strawberries.
Fantastic. Once again, thank you. Listen, everybody who's listening, follow us on Facebook, and then you'll see all the latest things that the chamber is doing. We have so many webinars and so many other things that you're doing, but then you'll tune in for the next chef demo. Chef, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me. Thank you. It was a real pleasure to do this.
Have a great
Thank you,
weekend,
Chef.
everyone.
Thank you, Chef.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You.
Really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hilarious.